What's up, everybody? Thanks for stopping by HireWell's YouTube channel. Remember to subscribe and click the bell on the bottom to get notifications. And now HireWell Talent Insights presents The Truth About Counteroffers. All right, Matt, thanks for joining me today. I want to talk about counteroffers. I guess the reason for the conversation, counteroffers are really popular this year. Like, you've seen tons of them, right?
Yeah, like across the board, I think more this year than any one year already, and we're not even into July yet.
The thing that always gets me about counteroffers is I think we need to admit that counteroffers are bad for recruiters. Internal recruiters, agency recruiters, like every recruiter hates counteroffers because it doesn't matter who you're working for. You thought you had a position filled and then suddenly you didn't. That being said, the reason why I don't hate counteroffers and the reason why I have an issue with how the industry treats counteroffers is I hate lying. If there's a reason that I should be against a specific counteroffer, I want it to be a real reason, not just some made up BS. And that's what I want to counteract. I've been around the industry a long time. I think there's two things that are prevalent. One, anybody who came up through an agency environment had it beaten through their head that you have to convince candidates that counteroffers are always bad. That was my experience. Was that your experience too when you got started?
Yeah, 100%.
Every recruiter was taught that and trained that you have to always talk candidates out of taking counteroffers. Okay, that's one. The rationalization for that, like, it's based in truth, but it's the type of things that can't be applied to every situation. The second thing is there's just so many phony stats thrown out about this that are completely made up, and people actually believe them. Like what I always heard, and what I think most recruiters hear, you threw out a different one, and we were talking about this beforehand, is I always heard that 90% of people who take counteroffers leave within 6 months. That's a popular one. What did you hear? What was the number you heard?
It's 75% are gone within the first year.
Yeah, just crazy numbers. And thing is, for a long time, I believed that, for the first part of my career. But then you start talking to people who took counteroffers and you realize that, they're not all gone. They're still at their job. Maybe this isn't actually based on anything. I ran 2 polls, and these are open access polls we did on LinkedIn. Anybody could kind of vote on them just to see, like, okay, what do the numbers really look like? Have you taken a counteroffer to stay at your company after resigning? If so, how much longer did you stay? I gave 3 real answers and 1 BS one, meaning 3 answers of people who said yes. Yes, I left within 6 months. Yes, I left within 6 to 24 months. Yes, I stayed 2+ years. Then no, but show me the results. And I had to throw that in there because if you don't let people like exclude themselves from it, they're just going to click something else, right? So people who didn't accept one are going to pick a number randomly, right? So I actually got, 6,332 people responded. 1,135, yes, took a counteroffer. So that was like 18%. Took the counter. The other 82% don't count. Doesn't matter what they said. They never took a counteroffer. They're not relevant to the conversation how long they stayed. So getting to the meat of it, of the people who said yes, who have actually taken a counteroffer in their career, 30% left within 6 months. So 30%, not 90%, kind of a big difference. 30.8 left within 6 to 24 months. And then 39.2, basically 40%, stayed 2+ years. What are your thoughts on that?
A little surprising. I figured they'd skew higher actually towards people left within the first 2 years. And being an open poll, it's a little unique because like every industry is a little bit different in how it operates too. Because I'm sure if you look at tech and sales, counteroffers are probably more or less prevalent depending on the vertical in the industry. I'm surprised it's 60-40. I figured it would definitely be closer to 70-30 or 75-25, like I always, had heard.
Well, the real meat of this is, of the people who actually took counteroffers, were they glad they did it, or did they feel like they got burned themselves afterwards? Because you could take a counteroffer, make more money, leave within 3 months to go somewhere better and say, I'm so glad I took that counteroffer. You know what I mean? Because this is not about what the companies think. It's really about, like, was it good for the person who actually took it? You could take a counteroffer, stay 3 years and realize this was a mistake. I should have left. You know what I mean? So that's like what the tenure was, isn't even the success metric of whether it was good or bad to take. So I ran another poll. And this one was really simple. So if you've taken a counteroffer to stay at your company after resigning, was it a good decision? So yes, it worked out. No, it was a mistake. Undecided because it's too early. And I never took a counteroffer to give everybody who likes clicking on stuff to click on. 1,182 people responded. Most of them were people who never took counteroffers. So I got rid of people who never took one. People were undecided because, again, they don't really matter to this one. We're just trying to figure out, of the people who took one, made up a decision, good or bad. 334 people. And it was pretty much an even 40-60 split. 40% of people said it was a good decision, 60% said it was a bad decision. 10 years ago, I would have said 10% good, 90% bad. But going into this, I kind of thought it'd be 50-50.
I think a part of it is as I get older, as I have a family, as I have a house, like the more reasons to accept a counteroffer and like be comfortable and like, other factors that play into like what goes into a counteroffer like really creeps into my mind. As I get older in my career and like progress in my career, like they start to make more sense. But when I was like 23 and I was like, no, that's dumb. Like you don't take it because at the end of the day, they know you're looking and they're going to fire you tomorrow. Like that's not always the case anymore.
That's always the logic used by recruiters. It's such bullshit. It has the assumption that every employer is out to get you and they intentionally underpaid you. When is realistically, as you get older, you realize, like, especially if you have people reporting you, like sometimes you just don't know what's going on in people's heads. You're not omniscient. You don't know everything that's happening. It's not good, but sometimes you end up being out of the loop on certain things. And then you don't realize that you had a big miss until someone brings it to your attention the day they resign. And then you're like, crap, I screwed this up. Like, how do I make it better? Like, you didn't mean to do it, So I think that's part of it. But the other part for me is just that, like, there's a lot of, as you said, there's a lot of times where counter offers make sense. The way I think recruiters should view this whole thing is put yourself in the shoes of the candidate. If you can be honest with yourself and you think them taking a counter offer is a terrible decision for them, by all means say it. But also be honest, if you take that counter offer, if you were them, shut up. Like, just like let them go. And like, why would you make a stink about it? Like, everyone hates going back to the drawing board when you're recruiting after finding another candidate, but that's your job. It just didn't work out. And I realize there's a level of frustration with people, but I think you just need to be honest. I also think the sooner you can identify things with candidates, and the other thing I've always impressed on people is like run those scenarios and understand, okay, in what scenario would it make sense? And understand if someone's a counter offer risk doesn't mean you need to do a better sell job against them. It means you need to start finding other candidates that can potentially fit the job because it may not work out.
I think it happens all the time, and it's just something that you want to be open and transparent about. Like, I can't tell you that like it's happened a lot this year, and this year is kind of an anomaly. Last year's kind of an anomaly. Like maybe it's what the market is now, but at the end of the day, like understanding their point of view, understanding what would keep them there, why they stayed or why like they might stay. Like there's a lot of factors that play into it. And if you can't be empathetic towards it, one, you're probably not a good recruiter. And two, like you're probably just not a good person. Like, you know, I always tell people like if they've got an offer in hand from their current company and I've got an offer for them, like it's hard for me to be completely unbiased, but I'm going to give, the positives and negatives of both and let them make that decision. There's no way I want to burn a bridge with a candidate just because at the end of the day, they accepted an offer where they're currently at. Like that's silly. Like do what's best for you, do what's best for your family. Hopefully it was a good experience working with me and you want to work with me again. But, at the end of the day, like blocking someone on LinkedIn or not talking to them ever again because they took, an offer that at that point in time they felt was better for them. That's silly. Like there's no reason to do that.
Your credibility is worth so much more than one placement. And I think that's the other thing too, is you need to think longer term, bigger picture. And you mentioned to me before, like you've gotten client business out of people who have taken counteroffers before that you didn't want them to take because you treated them like a human and they respected that.
If they had a good relationship with me and it worked out and I got them a job, great. But if we had a good relationship and they took a counteroffer or a different offer and it was still a good experience, like at the end of the day, that should be, a large part of my job. Obviously we want to do everything we can for our clients, but on the candidate side, if we're not providing a good experience where they want to work with us, analysts turn into managers turn into directors, like treat everybody great and everybody will come back to you. That's always been my philosophy.
I think kind of the takeaways here are the classic industry statistics are complete garbage. 30% in 6 months, that's how many people actually leave. I think it's still irrelevant because all that matters is were people happy with their decision to stay versus go. It's about 40, 60 people who were happy they did it versus those who felt like they made a mistake. Not surprising since these are people who are trying to leave their company to begin with. But I still think it's close enough to 50-50 where it's a case-by-case scenario. You have to really evaluate things. And if you're a recruiter, it would behoove you to be empathetic, put yourself in your candidate's shoes. If you do think they have blinders on for some reason and they're making a terrible decision, by all means, try to help them see your way. Maybe you'll help them out, but don't get so attached to it that you think you're right no matter what, because it's just not the case.